Hi, welcome back to Social Media Marketing. Let me go ahead and start sharing my screen so we can get to business. Okay, I just wanted to start by let's recapping what you did last week. You started on your simulation and you did rounds 1 and 2. It'll always be the same thing where you're posting on your odd rounds and then evaluating on your even rounds. Hopefully, by the second round, you realize that you should be exporting your Excel data and analyzing it. So when I export my Excel sheet from the Mimics simulator, I typically start sorting it by each of the columns, and I look at what did the best and what did the worst. And I start to find common threads and commonalities within all of those posts. What platforms, who was I targeting, what was I doing, was the content good, am I following the tips in the book? So typically I like you to read the book first so that you have a foundation of what you need to do. And I put the simulations at the bottom or your biggest assignment at the bottom because I want you to prepare for that simulation round. I need you to go into these simulations like you're doing it for a job. You really need to apply all of your knowledge, and that's what makes this so fun. It is kind of a game, and there's no one strategy that works. When I teach this in the classes for the last couple years, there's always somebody that finds a new way to make a lot of revenue. Typically, the most popular platforms based on our product would be obviously Instagram, Pinterest is usually a good one, and then there are other platforms that are in your top 3 or 4 are up for grabs. People struggle to have a really high success rate on YouTube, and I think that that's one thing that is a commonality through all the semesters is how to make a lot of revenue on YouTube. That will be a challenge, and videos are really expensive. So it's always really hard to decide if you're going to do that or not. But videos perform really well on other platforms. So you can weigh the pros and cons because videos tend to perform really well on Instagram, Facebook, and depending on what type of video you pick in your marketing, maybe even on LinkedIn or Pinterest. Excuse me. So I want to challenge you for this next round. I got a lot of questions. I reviewed some of the discussion boards, and I feel like about half the class is really struggling to master the simulation. So there's actually 12 total rounds. I made a slight error. It is not going to be 9 and 10. It's 12 in digital or social media marketing. Digital marketing is only 10 because they post and do analysis every single round. It's really intense. And I got them confused because, again, I'm formatting this class for online. I'm really sorry, but I'm trying my best. And I did cut a lot of assignments for you because of that. So basically, let's see. If I was going to go into the simulator, here I am. I'm a student. And let's say I'm going to do this for the first time. Here's where you guys got started. And here's your posting area. So when you're creating your post and you're going through your content, I want you to start to think about grouping your target markets. If you haven't done this already, try to group your target markets into who are the most similar that I can grab and target at the right platforms. And I want you to start to have your personas open on one screen and really trying to figure those people out. And craft some kind of awareness, consideration, and conversion campaign through the week. So picking some kind of content that matches your editorial calendar would be really helpful. So, and also reading all the tips and tricks. There's a ton of information that you're going to be exposed to that gives you great insights. Read all your memos, read the scenarios, read all your information. It's really important that you do that. I would beg to say that using these images with the people using the gear are probably really powerful, but that can't be the only thing you post, right? And you can't post sell, 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 or else you're not going to do really well because everybody's just going to wait for you to have something on sale. One of my most successful posts was not a sell post. I posted new merchandise. I was like, hey, new luggage is hitting, right? And so I posted it strategically, and I made this really powerful post with the luggage, and I told like a little bit of a story with it, and I ended up getting $40,000 from that one post on all the various platforms total. So that was just one post where I strategically marketed to my targets. I bid appropriately, and I crafted some kind of story, and I really targeted those people and made sure I promoted it. Because it's not always about a sale. Sometimes it's about the new stuff. Also, expand your target. So if you know that they're into sports and you want to test out some sports gear, so I know that there's some, you can go here and you can search sports, right? Test that out. If they're into one sport, there might be a good chance that they're into other one. I did this, I think this Blue Jays, yeah, the Blue Jays post, or it was this one. And then I put in the targeting, I was like, if you're interested in Blue Jays, baseball, soccer, and I just went off on all of the sports, NBA, NFL, Major League, MLB, right? So you know, expand that network. You don't have to be limited to exactly what they give you. Think, okay, if these two personas, and I'll just try to group maybe 2 or 3 max, are into this this sporting thing or whatever, maybe there's a lot more criteria that you can lump in there to expand your audience to people that would actually want to buy it. I did that on I think Twitter, Instagram, yeah, and it did really well as well. So start thinking a little bit of themes when you're also posting these, and also mixing in your organic post strategy. Those are the ones that you're not promoting with the actual ones that you want to boost and promote. Okay, so the challenge is every post that you create, that's one post. In order to get a qualify for an A, you have to post at least 100 posts at the end of the 12 total rounds. So are you posting enough? A lot of you are not creating enough posts. Just because you create one post with one image and you picked a bunch of platforms, that does not qualify as multiple posts. It means crafting it, and just because you post to other platforms that doesn't matter. Although you should post to other platforms if it makes sense, right? And testing things. Are you testing? Every round, are you trying to figure out, okay, what's going to be my next campaign? What can I do to get people really excited maybe for this weekend sale? And do I post the new merchandise, get them excited, do a clearance sale, do a free shipping? Think about what type of promotions you want to run in the week, what type of merchandise you want to highlight, and then also, how do you feed your audience with that brand awareness? I call them the sexy posts, right? The lifestyle posts, the this should be you wearing this thing posts. Pretty soon, I don't believe you guys are doing it this round, but you're going to do an influencer round, and there's a whole segment regarding influencers, and that would probably be your next segment. So I just want to prepare you that is coming up soon, and it's going to be really exciting. So I can't wait for you to do that. Okay. Let's see, let me look back at the syllabus. All right, I'm about to post, so all this is posted. You're gonna have a LinkedIn blog, and there's criteria there. On LinkedIn, they call blogging articles. Let me say that again. On LinkedIn, they call blogging writing an article. So you are gonna take your optimized LinkedIn profile, and you're going to create a business geared, right for the platform, right for your brand, because you did your personal branding article, and you're going to do it in that kind of style, like a blog article style, to where it's an intriguing, compelling idea. Some of the students are doing things from what uh, 5 tips to landing an internship, the experience that they had at their internship, how to create your own internship. So somebody's going to write about that. Then there's somebody who is from Thailand or lived in Thailand, and she saw people always ask her if she's ridden an elephant, and she's like, a lot of people don't realize that it's actually animal abuse. How can I make that a business post? And I said, well, tourism is big business, and it's like, I told her to relate it to business. Is it worth it? Is animal abuse blood money, and is that okay? Do you want to, and then challenging people to say, do you want to partake in that? Did you even know that it was animal abuse? And so she loved that. So she's going to talk about the dark side of animal riding and things like that when you go on vacation. So I didn't know that. So that was really eye-opening for her to educate me, because most people do not know that. And then once you know things, you know that you know them. There's a lot of people are also thinking of they work. So if you have a job and you learn something from your job and you want to communicate that, that's great. If you're going to write specifically about your company, you just want to double check their policies and make sure that it's high quality that you're going to post. I recommend quoting something, right? Like looking at a conversation that's happening online, maybe something trending that you think that is interesting and that you can contribute to. If you want to reference that piece of material, fine. But I will tell you this and warn you that I will copy your entire blog and I paste it in this tool. It's called Grammarly. Grammarly is amazing. There's this thing, it's called plagiarism. And I can look and see if anything that you wrote has been published before. So I actually wrote that. So that's really funny. But obviously 5% of my text. And if it's normal language and that's the only thing that highlighted, I would probably assume that somebody had written that in the past. But I, in a matter of seconds, can see if anything was plagiarized. So just please be original. And if you want to source something, just source it. Just say blah, 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 mention and provide a link. It's not that hard. There's tons of resources online that tell you how to do that. I provided many resources in the assignment that you will see. So that's really exciting. Okay, let's see. Okay, make sure that when you complete your simulation, you do so in time that you can post in the discussion board before the deadline. Why not kind of get a head start and not wait until the last minute? I say that, but of course, many of you just love to wait until the last minute, and that, I guess that's okay. So I guess for rounds 5 and 6, maybe you don't want to wait until the last minute. That would probably be really smart. But there's an expert session about creating amazing content. I think that you're going to find that one really cool too. It's going to give you a lot of insight on content creation. That is a perfect segue into like a mini lecture. I will be posting this slide deck for you, but I wanted to highlight some of the coolest things in content marketing. So we talk a lot about content throughout the book and everything, and I just want us to be crystal clear on what content is. And this slide deck will give you insights into content for business to business. I highlighted a lot of content for that because it's easy to understand and consume direct-to-consumer marketing, but the majority of you will actually be working in business-to-business sales and marketing or other business services in that field. So there's 2 types of content that you could post, either stuff that you create yourself, so content curation versus original content. Content curation is if somebody else creates it and you share it on your platform. And that is really smart because you don't have to create original content all the time. And you'll see here that that's going to continually be one of the biggest challenges in marketing, is having things to post on your social media. It's a struggle, and the struggle is real. So what is original content, how to create it, and some pitfalls. So I'm going to quickly go through some of these at a high level, and then that way you can drill down and really understand this. Every company struggles with producing engaging content. It takes a lot of effort. A lot of content creators that I know are very expensive because it takes so much research and brain power to make something that's interesting, trending, well written, maybe with graphics. A lot of content writers that I know that are decent, majority of them start at like $30 an hour. And if you know how to do SEO and which you would learn in digital marketing, and I highly recommend taking that course, and other strategies that you put into your content, you make it more valuable. I know some people that command up to $150 an hour to create engaging, optimized content. Who wouldn't want to make $150 an hour, right? So there's a ton of need in this space, and if you're really good at it and you can make it the most boring industries sound somewhat interesting, you would have a great career doing this. Okay, so content does so much for you. It is the science of marketing. This is how you get those messages out that are not buy now, buy now. This is how you add value with your brand, and you never have to compete on price if you can communicate the benefits of your products or services to your targets. So shaping a brand preference and influencing past purchases, social media shares, and inbound links. And what I really like about content is people get to pick what they want to read. So you're allowing your target audience to be in the driver's seat in what they want to consume. And you can track all of this with digital marketing tools. It's fabulous. There's also an SEO benefit to it, brand awareness, right? So basically how content strategy works is you start to think about, what are my objectives here? What are my business goals immediately? And then who's my target? It always comes down to your target market. And I segment my targets usually based on industry or title. So a C-level person versus a mid person versus just a research assistant, or a homeowner, or just a parent or a college student, right? And you break up these markets into little digestible segments. Then you make content that matches the target that you're going after. It has to be written in the format that they can consume, that they like, style of writing, more formal. If it's like a C-level business executive and you're talking about something like about compliance, right? And more informal when you get more direct to consumer. You can have a lot more fun in that space. Then you need to distribute it. That's where social media is so critical, is you're always distributing through that channel. So thinking about this content, where it's going to be, how you're going to distribute it and get it out there. And then you review your results and you repeat and repeat and repeat. So, okay, here is the funnel. I talk a lot about the journey to conversion. So these are the steps that customers go through. And here's content that you can create to push people through this journey. So how they become aware of you. Oh, that was weird. How they become aware of you. Maybe it's a white paper that catches their eye with a pervasive problem in the industry. Tip sheets, how-to videos, quizzes, informational webinars. Then when somebody's knows a few brands or a few solutions to their problem or some of the things that they want, then they evaluate. They're like, okay, which one is the best one? I'm starting to compare apples to apples here. So I might deep dive into a product, demo, look at some data sheets, read a case study, which is a story or narrative about that solution. And then a conversion, get people to touch, feel, use it, right? Estimates, incentives to convert by a certain time, a demo. There's also like this thing of, this is brand new, nobody else has it. I like that one as well. Okay. One other thing you need to understand as a marketer, people actually need things, right? And if your product or your services are the best, you're doing a service to the market by bringing those to them. People need to purchase things for a lot of different reasons, to solve problems. My shoes wore out, right? Like I need a new pair of shoes, or my tires are getting worn out and I need to know what the best tires are for me. Like there will always be a reason to be purchasing things. So you're either creating that sense of urgency with them, or you just are serving them with the need to learn and understand. Okay, so there's tons of research in here, but I thought that this was kind of a cool chart so you can kind of understand different types of content. Again, if the majority of you will be in probably business to business, you might find this really helpful. So take a minute. You're going to be creating this blog article for LinkedIn. It actually is a blog. They just call it article to be a little bit more formal, I think. Like it's like a press, like you're putting out magazines or something, I guess. I don't know. But it's factual or opinion based. Your word length needs to be between 350 to 1,000 words, something more trending topics or of deep interest, or you're going to create a trend. A little less formal writing style to very casual and fun, but remember your platform. This is on LinkedIn, so you have to be true to your LinkedIn brand and what a typical LinkedIn audience is looking for. So that is going to be critical when I'm grading that assignment. Data sheets. Data sheets are that drill down. You can do a data sheet for your services, or you can do a data sheet for a product. So it could be digging into the bits and bytes, the RAM of a computer, or it could be talking about your point of difference as a service provider. So if I'm a real estate agent, I would probably have a data sheet on my business or my results, right? Or what makes me so special. I have an MBA, or I'm also a lawyer and I have this many years of experience. So you would highlight these key differentiators in your data sheet. So at a glance, right? Case study. This is your story. This is the narrative of how somebody had a problem, and you segment these into like industries, and you kind of build these around your personas. So you would want to have at least one case study per persona, because you want your audience to really connect with that story. So they are factual and they're based on a client interview. You might not get the permission of the client to publish their logo or their information because they don't want people to know what they're doing. In that case, you could describe them without naming them, and that you could still get that narrative out there, right? So just be careful that if you do go that route, that you know that that's okay and get permission and everybody's on board with the strategy of creating some kind of case study. A white paper is great if you have some kind of research or something interesting that you want to share. It's a little bit more academic, but it's still for a company. This is not a purely scientific white paper. This is something that will help the industry, and there's a lot of meat in there. And I usually call them lead magnets, where you can like capture email addresses and information and contact info because they want to get to the meat. But at the end of it, you tell them how you solved that problem, right? So it's still a sell. And then an ebook. These are more factual. They're very informational, and they might be a step-by-step guide to do something. When I worked at an e-commerce IT services company, we had a holiday prep manual, and it basically was this very helpful ebook that was distributed amongst all of our existing customers. So it was a huge benefit of them being a customer of ours. But then it was also another lead magnet. So if people wanted to get access to this great meaty bit of information, then they would have to give us all their contact info. And we verified if it was a business address or not before we sent it to them. And then, so we knew who was requesting it. And then it also had a soft sell in it, right? So it was basically an ebook on how to prepare for the Christmas season with highly resourcing your stuff, getting your marketing in line, getting your IT resources in line, and it walks you through the exact steps that you need to do. It was a smash. Okay, so I'm not going to get into every little piece of context. I think that now at this high level, you can drill down and you can learn a little bit more about it. But I want to talk a little bit more about your blogs because you're going to be doing those. So a blog, or as LinkedIn calls them, article, although they're different in the real world, they're publishable, findable, social, possibly viral, syndicatable, and linkable. Okay. Okay, so I've had 2 students of the whole time that I've assigned this that actually got jobs because they wrote a really intriguing article that was shared in their network, and it drew attention to their skills and advantages and their point of view. So it really helped them get jobs. And every single job in marketing or high-end sales, they might even ask you for a writing sample. So it would be helpful if you had one on hand that was already really well done. So I think that having an articulate writing sample of a business piece that's published, and if you get a lot of likes on there, you would be good to go. So, okay. Most blogs are abandoned within 50 days, or within the first 90 days, 50% of all blogs are abandoned, and that's because it takes a lot of work. If you're an organization and you're like, let's have a blog, you have to commit to doing a blog at least once a month. There's Google reasons and other reasons for that, but you have to keep that cadence. And if your audience, you'll never get that traction if you can't at least do once a month. Preferably twice a month, I think is a good thing to shoot for if you're doing original blogs and it's interesting. Quality over quantity though, but a minimum one high quality blog a month, more if you have the resources and you have enough interest in your target market. Okay. So remember, you might have to tap into your personal branding worksheet. What are you passionate about? I've had students write about the business of camping, the camping industry in Texas. That's super interesting, right? I had another student write about fantasy football. Did you know 1/3 of all fantasy football players are women? And wow, that blew my mind. There's data and research that shows that 1/3 of fantasy football players are women. And I just thought that was just the most interesting thing ever. And I'm sure a lot of you are like, yeah, really? Yeah. Well, it was like at least a few years ago when they pulled up all the research. So let's see. Make sure your title for your particular blog is interesting. So write your entire blog, and I want you to think of, okay, now what would be a cool title to wrap this all together? Maybe tie into something trending. People use alliteration, where they use like the same letter for a few words in a row. They use puns. They use anything trending. Maybe combine words, or just do something really interesting to get attention and to make it look fresh and new and not like the same tired old information that everybody posts and everybody keeps writing. So be fresh, be unique, be interesting, because I know you are, right? And you need to get that shown. All of us are interesting if you tap into the things that make you interesting, if that makes sense. And another thing, remember, you get 10 bonus points on this assignment if you could get up to 500 views before the end of the semester. Just take a snap of your blog and of the view count, and you're going to email that to me as soon as you get it, and I'll make sure you get the credit. Okay, so this kind of goes into the details of those pieces. There's like a fun little thing. All right, now infographics, I think, is another cool piece of content that you can create. It's not all writing, although writing is very meaty and it's super useful. But there's a lot of time that you want to do visual data visualization, where just looking at data on a paper doesn't mean anything. Sometimes you need to get that point across. So you're going to learn about this in your expert session. He drills down on that. But at a glance, like, this is really powerful visual, because the top is like what we think it is, the middle is what we think it should be, and the bottom is, oh, but this is what it really is. And it just gets those points to you really fast. Another thing I thought that was really cool here with this data visualization is look how big YouTube and Facebook are compared to all the other platforms, right? And that just hits you in the face, like, very visually, how much bigger. And then I love these Venn diagrams here with the communicating with the customer, and it has like circles around the social media channels. It's just a really creative thing. I also give you tons of tips if you're going to do a video creation. You could dive into this to do pre-production planning. You should always have some kind of strategy when you're doing an actual, especially if you're doing a live shoot. You have to prep everybody. You should have some kind of idea, maybe even script people, coach them on how to take natural pauses. You have to have killer lighting. You have to be mindful of the sound, and maybe even order a couple of cheap mics. You have to spend a lot of money to actually produce a high quality video, but you do have to have a pretty decent professional camera, 4K preferably, or better. And you have to prepare everybody and have a real strategy of execution. And no matter how well you prepare and how well everything's going, it'll always go double the time. Just FYI. Okay, and then GIFs. I want you to be mindful that if you're doing this for an organization and you're going to be using GIFs that are copywritten, it's not the same rules as if you're an individual using a gift. So GIF, not gift. When you are using any kind of images that are not original or any kind of video clips or anything, you could distribute those as an individual, but as soon as you are a business for profit, then there's probably different copyright rules and how you're allowed to use that content. Well, I knew an attorney. She just like broke off from a group and she was starting her own business. She was at a co-working spot. And I was like, how's business? And she says, it's booming. I go, what are you doing? She's like, I'm a copyright lawyer. So she goes and she sues everybody who's in copyright infringement. So she said business is great. She's making lots of money, suing a lot of people that are breaking the rules. So make sure you know the rules and how you can use certain content. When in doubt, look it up, pause. It's always better than getting in trouble or ruining your reputation for being sloppy or negligent. And another reason why you should follow these rules, and I'm going to get through a couple more pitfalls at a high level, is because you can get your platform taken down. Imagine if you had like 1 million followers and you're breaking some of these rules, and then Facebook says that we're done with you, no longer have access to your page, or Google bans your page from the internet, right? So copywriting, plagiarism, and using content for not the purposes as intended. So if something was made for editorial, but you're using it for products to make profit, then you have to be mindful that you're in danger. Okay, so plagiarism in digital marketing is a big deal. Again, first of all, it makes you look dumb. Like, you don't want to look like a copycat to your audience or to your executives or to your customers. You just want to do the right things. You want to be smart. You want to be like, I have a brain. I'm not a copycat, right? That's a bad brand. Who wants to hang out with somebody who just sits there and echoes what everybody else is saying? So let alone it being wrong, it's a bad look and it doesn't work. And it makes you look unoriginal and boring. Who wants to be that? Nobody. So here's the types of content that are called unoriginal work. And this drilled down into them. A clone is an exact copy of image or words, right? Very frequent and very problematic. That would probably get you into some legal problems and or some issues. And obviously you're starting to learn that because higher education cracks down a lot on plagiarism. You need to have original thoughts because there's a lot of problems for you out in the real world if you don't. Copy pasting, find and replace, and you'll see this. So you can kind of get a feel for what exactly a clone is. So this is clone word for word, but there's also clone image, clone graphic, clone, stealing other pieces of content that are not original. So think of it as words, image, the whole enchilada of type of content. And it kind of gives you a how to avoid some of the pitfalls and some tips, like a find and replace. Might not be as problematic if you're really changing a lot of the words, but might not be as problematic for getting in trouble legally. But if your audience doesn't think it's original, you could have issues there, right? There would be reputation issues. And so this will kind of give you some guidelines of legality issues. This one cracks me up. Includes citations to non-existent or inaccurate information about sources. People faking sources to look more credible or legitimate. Let's just say that any conspiracy theory floating around, take a look down and see if it looks legitimate. Drill down on those studies, and they get really good at trying to disguise them. I click the links, they go to like random pages. They go to data or studies that are not even the same study that's mentioned in the article. So they look legitimate, but they're completely fabricated and fake. So It's very unsettling. And then, okay, so there's that. I think you're prepared. I'm really excited about your next round for the simulator. You need to really focus and have a strategy. Plan out your content, plan out your targets, look at what you have available, review your past results, and make sure that you're changing your strategy. What time are you posting to what audience on what platform? And I want you to group those targets and have a story for them for the week. So maybe at least a few posts crafted to each of those targets throughout the whole week. And be mindful of all the rules and all the tips that you just read in your book. Good luck. I can't wait to hear and see all the wonderful things that you do this semester or the rest of the module. Next module, I'll be posting more about your final. Your final will be through HubSpot, and I have to set all that up. So you have plenty of time. We're not even in midterms yet. So just know that will be coming soon. Thank you, and I'll talk to you soon.